Greetings and salutations, love squires. I'm Prince Amari, and I help Black gay men level up their love lives by enhancing their relationship skills while neutralizing patterns of self-sabotage through the alchemical power of hypnosis. And in this video, we're going to talk about 5 ways to manage dating anxiety. So lots of my clients ask me how to deal with the anxiety that comes up when they're going on dates, when they're talking to people on dating apps, when they're actually going through the process of getting to know someone. Like, lots of us experience anxiety, a little nervousness to different degrees, right? And so I'm gonna share with you 5 specific ways you can actually deal with that anxiety, whether it be at the lower level of just how do I deal with this in the moment, to the higher level of how do we neutralize it so it doesn't become an issue ever again. So we'll start at the simple and then go to the, well, technically they're all simple. They're just different levels of result based on what your needs are in the moment. So first, and the one you're probably most familiar with, is gonna be using your breath. So people sleep on how powerful breathing actually is for helping us to relax, okay? So we are gonna be most engaged, most fascinating, most attractive to a potential partner when we are in a state of play and passion. But you can't be in a state of play and passion and in a state of anxiety at the same time, okay? In other words, in order to create a loving experience, you wanna be in the energy of love. But the opposite of love isn't pain. The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is actually fear. And that's what anxiety really is. It's the fear that something bad might happen when we go on a date. And usually that something bad is we're gonna get rejected, or they're gonna judge us, or they won't like us, or we won't be good enough for the person that we're gonna get to know. And so breath helps us to, one, recenter ourselves, because in that feeling of anxiety, our energy is kind of like all over the place, okay? And so I'm going to teach you really quickly a few different ways to deal with the anxiety, specifically through breath work, all right? So first of all, what you're going to want to do is taking a deep breath, and you can do this now. So I'm going to tell you what to do exactly. You can do it now just to see that it actually works immediately, okay? So take a deep breath, let it out. Okay, and notice how I took in the breath, and when I let it out, I really just exhaled through my mouth. I let it go, all right? And you don't want to do that a few different times. Now, the trick here with taking deep breaths is not in the inhale, it's in the exhale, all right? So the slower you exhale, the better your body will respond to it, because it actually triggers the autonomic nervous system to relax because you are not in danger. So anytime we exhale really fast, it makes our subconscious mind think we're in danger, and that will create those feelings of anxiety. But when we breathe slow, especially when our exhale is longer than our inhale, it tells our subconscious mind that we are safe, secure, and grounded. So taking a deep breath, hold it for just a moment, and as slow as you can, let it out, okay? So those were 2 different ways. You could just take in the deep breath and let it go, and by letting it go, you're letting go of the anxiety. Do that as many times as you need. And then you can also take in the deep breath, and as slow as you can, let it out, and that will lower your heart rate, reduce the anxiety, and trigger your subconscious mind to relax because you are safe and secure. Okay, and clearly you can do those no matter if it's before the date, during the date, whatever. This also works on a job interview. It also works if you have to go on TV, any of those situations. Breath work, yeah, number 1 thing. Number 2 is a really cool technique that I learned in hypnotherapy school. So I didn't create this, but we're gonna call this the Unwind, okay? And so what you're gonna do is imagine that feeling of anxiety that you normally get. We're gonna conjure that feeling right now, okay? And so if we have a scale of -10 to +10, obviously anxiety isn't gonna exist on the positive side at all. So we have from -10 to -1, with -10 being the most intense anxiety, and -1 is like, man, I can't even really tell I'm anxious yet. We want to conjure at about a -4, -5. So feel that feeling of anxiety in your body, okay? And you can close your eyes to this if you like, if it's easier for you to like visualize or imagine or whatever, totally close your eyes, that's fine. If you don't need to do it though. So imagine where you normally feel anxiety in your body, okay? And so for some people, they're like, oh, all over. You might feel it all over, great. But where is it concentrated, okay? There's a place in your body where anxiety usually concentrates. It could be in your throat, it could be in your chest, in your stomach. It's different for everybody, in your shoulders, in your eyes. Like, we all experience it a little differently, but notice where anxiety congregates and concentrates in your body and feel it there, okay? Then think of the color that anxiety would be if it had a color, right? And there's no right or wrong answer here, just go with your first impression. If it had a color, what color would it be, okay? Then if it had a shape, what shape would it be? Again, first impression, there is no right or wrong answer. So there's a color and there's a shape. So let's say it's a red square or red zigzaggy, you know, it looks like a zigzaggy thing. And maybe that's how you picture it in your body. It's red and zigzaggy and it's right here in the middle of your chest, okay? Then what you're gonna do is take your hands, okay, and do exactly what it seems or feels like that anxiety is doing. So what is the anxiety doing? Like, how would you move your hands to mimic the way the anxiety is moving for you? And so for me, perhaps it's doing this. It's making this tightness, right? It's tightening, 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 okay? And so now you got it, this red zigzaggy feeling in your body, and it does this, okay? Your hands are the key here, right? So what you're gonna do, anytime you feel anxious, as soon as you notice the feeling of anxiety, what you're gonna do is do your hands the way they did when they got anxious, and then unwind them or reverse that action. So literally in this moment, do it. So if they were doing like this, then do the opposite of that. And you will immediately feel the anxiety release in your body. And so you can just keep doing that if you need to, and it will keep lowering the amount of anxiety that you feel, okay? So that's the unwind or the rewind technique, all right? So that's the second thing. The third way you can manage your dating anxiety is by pre-vivifying the experience that you're gonna go on. So say it's a date, pre-vivify the date as if you were there and you experienced it without anxiety. Now, often you will hear people say, visualize yourself going through the motions without it, right? But it's not visualizing. And the difference here, when you visualize yourself doing something, you're usually seeing yourself as if you're watching a movie, right? That's not what we want here. Pre-vivification is actually living it ahead of time, which is what pre-vivify means. Vivify is to bring to life. So you're gonna imagine that you are seeing the experience through your eyes as if you were there, not as if you're watching yourself experience it, okay? The reason this is important is because our subconscious minds don't know the difference between a memory, a current experience, or our imagination, especially through the perception of our own eyes or our own hands or whatever, okay? So if you see it as a movie, the subconscious is like, oh, it's just a movie, no big deal. It doesn't shift the programming inside of you, right? Because you're just like, it's a movie, I'll be done watching it and I'll go back to normal. But if you pre-vivify it, if you actually live it in your mind ahead of time, that actually triggers the different responses in your unconscious mind, which is the body's consciousness, and your subconscious mind, which is where all of your emotions, your habits, your beliefs live, okay? And anxiety is often based on a belief, like I said earlier, that something bad is gonna happen, which is why we want to trigger the subconscious mind to relax, because the subconscious emotions trigger our unconscious or the body's consciousness to actually produce the feeling of anxiety or the tightening in the chest or any of those different things, okay? So you wanna see it through your own eyes, not as if you're watching it as a movie. So if it's a date, imagine that you were there and going through the motions of the date, and you went through the whole date calm, confident, and at peace. And you can even imagine yourself doing the breath before you go into the date, and maybe under the table, whatever your action is, unwinding that anxiety, right? To keep that from happening, to keep yourself grounded and calm. You could totally do that in your pre-vivification exercise, okay? So the fourth way to manage dating anxiety is through a meditation or self-hypnosis practice, okay? Now, what is meditation and what is the difference between meditation and hypnosis, right? This is kind of like the adage that all squares are rectangles, but all rectangles aren't squares, right? So it's kind of like all hypnosis is meditation, but all meditation is not hypnosis, right? But in either case, you can do both of them yourself. You can do self-hypnosis, you can do self-meditation, obviously. But I can't really teach you that in this video, but that is something that you can do. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely hit me up and I can tell you how to do self-hypnosis. We could talk about what that looks like. On the meditation piece and also the self-hypnosis piece, you could get a recording that you listen to daily. So it would be a guided meditation or a guided hypnosis track. And just to be clear, all hypnosis is actually self-hypnosis, right? You're not actually being controlled by the hypnotist. They have no control over you. They're just guiding you to that normal state of mind, which happens every day. We all go in and out of hypnosis all the time. Whenever you're in flow or in the zone or you lose track of time, that is hypnosis. It's not like the movies, like in Get Out, where you go to the sunken place. Like that was just a movie. That's not how hypnosis works. Nobody's controlling you. You're totally conscious, totally aware, which is why you can drive all the way home, not even remember a part of it because your conscious mind was somewhere else, but your subconscious mind took over. You were also in hypnosis then, right? So hypnosis is a normal state of mind. Self-hypnosis is when you learn the techniques to take yourself to that state, right? So when you work with a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist, they're guiding you there, but self-hypnosis is learning to do it on your own or doing it with the help of a track or something like that. And so a daily practice of meditation and or self-hypnosis is really going to neutralize your anxiety on a more long-term, deeper level than just the breath or just the unwind. Those two first techniques are really about dealing with it when it shows up, whereas, or the first three were actually about that, including the pre-vivification. But meditation and self-hypnosis is really about preventing the anxiety from becoming a huge problem in the first place, okay? So that's the fourth. And then the fifth, related to number 4, is actually working with a trained hypnotherapist, okay? And so this is a person like myself who can actually guide you to those states, neutralize those beliefs or patterns or habits or emotional baggage that actually cause the anxiety. Because the way anxiety works, and any other emotion that we experience a lot of when something happens, intense emotion is usually not related to this situation we are experiencing in the present. This situation is often the trigger that connects us back to an emotional situation of a similar type from the past. So in other words, anytime we feel strong emotion, it's never about what we're experiencing now. It's always resonating with something we went through in the past, and our subconscious mind is telling us, oh, this might be similar. What do we do, right? So hypnotherapy helps you to neutralize the emotional baggage from the past so that it doesn't continue to create that same problem in the present or in the future. So working with the hypnotherapist or even any other type of therapy period, but hypnotherapy is really fast. We usually only have to do a few sessions to neutralize those things that might be causing you to experience dating anxiety specifically. So those are the 5 ways: using your breath, using the unwind technique, pre-vivifying the experience, a daily meditation or self-hypnosis practice, or working with a hypnotherapist, all right? And so if you don't remember any other tip or tidbit or trick that I ever give you in any of my videos, remember this. The number 1 reason anybody is single is because they're trying to have a level 25 relationship with a level 3 skills. The number 2 relationship anybody is single is because they haven't gotten over the baggage from the past, and that currently prevents them from allowing new love to come into their lives. So if you want help leveling up your love life and you like my help to do so, send me a message. All right? Love, peace, and glitter.